What is going on, everybody? Yep. There. Hey. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another Pixologic stream. My name is Ian Robinson, also known as IR Sculpts, and I make toys. And I 3D print stuff. So welcome in. Today we are going to be working on a piece I've been working on for a little bit. A Lady Carnage, kind of my own take on a mashup that I thought would be kind of cool. So this is where we are so far. Been working on this for on and off for, I want to say, 2 weeks. Been just taking my time with it, stuff like that. But hello, Vladimir Witch, welcome in, or Vladimir Twitch. Hey, it's good to see you too, Neo. How you doing? So real quick before we get started, guys, I just want to let you know, if you are watching this after the stream or you are watching this right now and you're not subscribed to the YouTube or following the Twitch or liking the Facebook page for Pixologic, please do so, just because there's so many talented artists here that volunteer their time to come in and like showcase everything and to like bring information as best we can about the program. So please make sure to hit that follow, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And yeah, let's get into it. Roger, man, how you doing? Welcome in. All right. So, like I was saying, this is a piece I've been working on for a little bit now. It's going to be for 3D printing, of course. So, but right now I'm just kind of like, I'm getting close to the detailing phase. And so I thought this would be a fun little piece just to like, we finished the Master Sword. If you guys missed that one, check that one out too. Last week, I showed you how to prep for 3D print. And also too, I do have a link for anybody who missed that stream and would actually like to download the Master Sword themselves. So let me go ahead and get that link for you really quickly, because I basically just gave it away as a big thank you for everybody who came and hung out and all that good stuff. So here it is right here. Let me go ahead and hold on a second. I'll just click that link right there. Go ahead and grab that. If you guys missed it and you would like to download the Master Sword, right there. Ryan, Casey, how you guys doing? It's going really good, man. It's going really good. It's been a busy week, a fun week, but it's been busy. For those of you who don't know, I work at Funko Toys. So I help make pops all day long, and it's really cool. It's just been a very fun, busy week, and I'm excited. So let me pull up my Pure Ref real quick. I have a lot of images. Guys, if you're not using Pure Ref for references, you have to, because it's just so awesome. And it really just helps you create like a mood board where you can grab photos from the internet, drag it down here. I use it all the time. 90% of my sculptures has Pure Ref on it, so let's go ahead and do it. So like I said, I'm just kind of detailing, tweaking some stuff, fixing anatomy, proportions, and just kind of going through here and making it look pretty. And I'm looking at some of the stuff too, for like, you know, looking at some of the, like the teeth, for example. I think I want to make these a little bit thicker, just because they're a little bit small. I'm trying to think of the scale of how I want to do this. And I'm thinking this is going to be a pretty decent sized model. This is where we're at. I'll just put it above my head, so you guys can always see the full version of it. But let's do it. What is going on? Hello, my digital. How you doing? Okay. Let's get into some detailing here. So I want to actually start adding some of that skin, like a little bit of the skin details. Let's fix some of this anatomy first. A little bit shredded, so let's grab clay tubes and put in some of these muscles that need to be there. Turn off RGB with that. Look sick, dude. Good work. Thanks, man. Woo woo. Everything's good here. Thanks. What were you doing with the What you're doing with the red light was so cool. Oh, thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah, I was playing around with some rendering and stuff like that a little bit. I have my Ecrochet model right here. Yeah, I was playing with more ways to render in ZBrush because I like the ability to render out and make things look kind of nice without it being too complicated of a setup, you know? So, yeah, this is a fun one. The idea of this piece too is that I want to be able to create swappable heads. You know, let's put back face on. I want to create swappable heads and then do like a Mary Jane swap. I think that'd be pretty cool. But I wanted to get the main piece done first before we do any of that stuff. Do some trend dynamics. There we go. How's everybody's week/weekend been? I know I haven't been able to stream on my own stuff normally. Just been busy. Busy's good. But 100% agree. I like not having to jump applications. Absolutely, yeah. That's the thing, man. I mean, ZBrush can do it. Especially when I do my work in progress stuff. When I do my work in progress renders, I don't jump to any other program. I feel like that's, for me, that's just unnecessary. I don't need to do that. I usually spend time rendering elsewhere if it's going to be like portfolio final piece. Actually drop subdivision. So I'm working in subdivisions at the moment, by the way. Because when you start to detail, subdivisions is your best friend. And you want to, in my experience, in my pipeline, I try to get out of Dynamesh relatively quickly if I spend my initial build there, just so I can actually focus on details when it gets to that stage. I'll actually start getting some of that built in. Yeah, we still have a lot to do. I still have a lot of things to fix, like this hand is pretty gross. So let's do that, actually. I'm going to go ahead and let's clip it right there. Let's see here. I should... I haven't renamed these. Let's call this long blade. And then... here we go. Here's the finger blades. That's the blood on the blades, and this is kind of the extra slime. Can you sculpt on multiple subtools at the same time? Wombat Studio? I do not believe so. I would say the answer is no. You can, what you can do is you can merge multiple subtools to the same subtool, which I guess would defeat the purpose at that point, but you can merge them without welding them, sculpt on them, and then you can separate them using polygroups. So, but having two subtools activate at the same time, I do not believe you can do that. But I have to say, that's the first time I've heard that question, and I really like where you're going with it. May have to be like, hey, is that possible? Hey, the Panda Dragon. Hello, dude. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn on back face, which is quite the lovely feature. If you don't know where that's at, just go to brush, go to auto masking, and you have back face. That just allows you to make sure that you don't, when you're sculpting on small details, it makes sure that you're not pushing beyond into the other side, because sometimes it'll actually kick through negatively and you'll be messing up the backside not knowing about it. So it's a good little feature. You did not know about it. I like to have it on some brushes, especially when I'm building up material. Like here, I'm building up her fingers and getting in the joints. I like to really build it up with clay buildup, and then smooth it down, start detailing. Happy Sunday! Happy Sunday to you too. Thank you. Trying to learn and doing tutorials on ZBrush. Heck yeah. And to switch between subtools, hold Alt and click the nano active subtool. Absolutely. Yeah, so if you want to switch to the blade, just hold Alt, tap, and that will allow you to switch to this one. Alt tap to the next one. Yep. Hey Ian, how are you doing? Can you tell me what is the best material to print collectibles? Best material to print with, I would say, has to be resin. It's hands down it holds the most amount of detail, and it's easy to work with a resin printer. So overall, resin is the way to go. What is up, Chris? Welcome in. Now, that's not to say that you can't utilize FDM. And if you do have an FDM printer, PLA is just fine. It's affordable. It's not too brittle. It's pretty forgiving once it's printed. PLA Plus is probably my favorite. But yeah, I would say if you can go with a resin printer, it's gonna help you out. And if you want a recommendation, I would say go with ABS style resin, which I actually think I have a jar. Hold on. Yeah, I use Sierra Tech ABS resin. I don't know if you could see that. Right there. Sierra Tech is really, really good, really affordable. What is up, Matt? How you doing? The poisonings. Well, I mean, we're talking about the resin. Yeah, you want to be careful when operating a resin printer. Take all the safety precautions, but yes. Yeah. That's actually why I recommend people with an FDM printer to utilize PLA, not ABS, because ABS is just as is pretty toxic without proper ventilation. So if you're printing an ABS and you're not ventilating, stop and ventilate. Because that stuff is very, very, very nasty for you. See here. Ooh, loving the claws. Yeah, thank you, thank you. Hello, JPEG. How you doing? But heavy molding, you can build an FDM printer that supports it, that prints in metal. Yes, absolutely. Yep. I would recommend if you're gonna print any type of metal with FDM, check out getting heat treated or hardened nozzles, usually made out of some sort of steel or even diamond tipped, because the metal and how abrasive it can be is actually going to eat through any bronze nozzle that you have. So make sure that if you are going to print metal, you're not using bronze, because you'll just blow out nozzles left and right. Go with something a little bit more rigid. So a hardened, heat-treated nozzle will do it. That will benefit you a lot. Actually, I recommend doing that if you use a lot of like wood material too, because of just how porous, and with wood filaments, things can gunk up really, really simple. A hardened nozzle is easy to clean, easy to manipulate, and you're not gonna mess up the tolerance of that nozzle as easy as you would a bronze or brass nozzle. I think they're brass. Where those hand sculpts is looking pretty nice. Thanks, dude. Thank you. Helped out a lot. Not a problem. I use water washable. Yeah, I haven't had that. You know what? I honestly haven't had success with water washable, but I print massive. I don't know if it's just... I don't know if it's me. It could be. There's a lot of things wrong with me, so that could be one of them. But, I don't know if it's just my experience with it, but water washable, I've always gotten it where I've printed a massive part, I hollowed it out, I've really cleaned and washed it, cured it, and I still got expansion. But when I printed miniatures, I'll be honest, the the miniatures didn't have any problems. So, you know, like anything, I recommend if you're working with a new material, test it out, see if it's working for you, and if it's not working for you, then you know, change your settings, note those down. Each material will act slightly different, so always be willing to test your materials out. Don't just like your settings won't be a set it and forget it. While most most resin printers, for example, will be pretty universal and very similar. My experience basically shows me that I've had to change my settings a lot. So if you start noticing, if you buy a new material, if like let's say you buy ABS-like style from Theoretech and you set your printings, your print settings, and it's great, and then you all of a sudden order from El Gumars because they're in stock and Theoretech isn't, and your print fails or it doesn't look as clean, it's probably just the setting parameter. You just need to adjust it. Check it out, read the bottle, make sure that you're printing within its recommendations, or, you know, see if somebody else has used it. Beauty part about printing. Never know what you're going to get. Also, if you are printing carbon fiber, oh yeah. That glow-in-the-dark filament too. I love that glow-in-the-dark filament. I've only used this sparingly because each time I've like fried my nozzle. But it's so pretty. You only print small, so you may be onto something there. Oh, okay, good to know. Am I still doing the filigree design? Yes, Ryan, I am. I hated the one I did, though, so I'm redoing it. If you guys want to know what he's talking about, I can load up a previous version. It's really good. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Could you share your UI? Yeah, I don't mind. I was actually still tweaking it, but I would love to share it. Yeah, I can set up a link to get to share the UI. Because yeah, I have if I hit 2, because I use hotkeys as well. The hotkey I use is just 2. I use 1 hotkey besides all the brush keys. But I have like a bunch of geometry settings I use here from ZBrush because I use it a lot. Delete hidden, mirror and weld, creasing, beveling, Dynamesh, and then clay polish and stuff. And then down here is like when I need to project details or extract. So yeah, I love this. Just recently 3D printed a mushroom kitty on clear resin on a photon from Anycubic. Great details, impressed. Oh yeah, absolutely. That's like not noticing somebody's haircut. Yeah. Yes, I did change my UI settings. Yeah, because funny enough, I approached my job a little bit differently than I was approaching my original pipeline. And so I wanted to do things that made it a lot simpler for my 9-to-5er. And all these features I use on a regular basis. Yeah. It's funny. It's every once in a while, too, I'll end up like switching it up just a bit. But it's been a very recent change. I know I haven't streamed all week, which has been weird for me, so... Okay, let's take a look at what we got going on here. Sometimes you need to take a step back and look at things from afar. Because 9 times out of 10, you're so close to your project that you're like, this looks amazing, and then you back out and it looks not amazing. So it's good to take a look at some of those things. Also, too... noticing I'm getting a weird gap right here. There should be some skin folds. So I'll definitely do that. And then I'm just using my own hand for reference here. This is broken, so we need to fix that right there. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's drop the subdivision. Actually, let's go real quickly with just these two. Let's go into T-pose and we can tweak some of that. Very cool. I love the design aesthetic. It was unique for this and thought it was awesome. Heck yeah, dude. Dude, thanks, Crafts. I appreciate it. Yeah, this has been a little bit of a work in progress. I started working on this on my own Twitch page I want to say almost 2 weeks ago. But then with new work and not being able to stream so much, I kind of put her on hold, and we are back. Figured, why not bring it over here? There we go. Let's do that. There we go. Now, I'm going to have to thicken these claws up a little bit, because as we talk about 3D printing, although I want her to be pretty massive, I want her to be close to the same size as my original venom, which is available for download on my ArtStation. If anybody is curious, it's free, so enjoy. And that is about 6.5 inches tall. So I want to make sure that this will be printable in that size, which I think that will work out pretty well. Let's see here. Random Epic Games has control free on Game Store right now. Oh, nice. What's my top 5 brushes for sculpting? So my top 5 brushes are Move, Clay Buildup, Damn Standard. I love the Topology brush. And then I'd have to say Balloon Mesh for being able to block stuff out very, very quickly. So those would be my top 5. And I think with those brushes, I'm able to do 80% of my work. That 80-20 approach. Also, the other way, you could be spending too much time on that area that is unnecessary. I do it in Photoshop all the time. You suddenly realize you're zoomed in at 5,000%. Yes, very true. It happens all the time. Especially when we're going to be 3D printing stuff. So like, for example, you know, I can zoom all the way in here and really like start detailing and getting this looking super amazing and focused in. And when I zoom out, I realize that that's only going to be, you know, that spot's only going to be like a couple millimeters at best. So yeah, the overall look and feel of the piece is what's more important than anything else. Little details, you can sort that out. So yeah, I feel you, dude. There we go. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to switch on the clay buildup. Actually, no. Clay buildup. Let's do clay tubes. I started using clay tubes with this Alpha 6 for building up a little bit more of that muscle structure. All while having a little bit of a softer approach. Instead of just smoothing all the time. Because, you know, smoothing is not the best to do a lot. It just ruins your details. But sometimes, like what I'll do for muscles, I'll come in with the damn standard and I'll hit it pretty deep, and then I'll do like a relaxed smooth and see if it gives me the effect I want. And if you don't know how to relax smooth, just hold shift, start smoothing, and then let go of shift as you're smoothing. And that'll do a relaxed smooth. Pretty good. Actually switch out to get the select lasso. So with the little duplicate to the right there, does it update with each thing you do for the bigger model, or is that just where you duplicated from? Oh, that's just where I duplicated from. I did a screen grab so people can, while I'm zoomed in to the 5,000% over here, that you guys can see what the overall piece looks like. I just did a Shift S. Because a lot of times I found when I'm detailing, and I like to get all the way in here, and then you guys can't see it. Or people who come in new to the stream are like, hey, what's your model look like? Nice way to keep it. There we go. Do a little relaxed smooth right there. So now I'm just kind of placing in some of those details. Detailing is so cathartic for me, but I understand it can be a little... Sometimes it can be a little boring. All depends. Okay. So if you guys don't have an Ecrochet model on your desk. Highly recommend you get one, especially when you're doing anatomy, because it's a really good reference. But if you don't have one, go to Tools up in the spotlight, and if you hit the Ryan Kingsley anatomy model and just double click it, it's a tool, not a project. And then you can get like this anatomy, which is pretty cool. And then you can actually isolate certain parts. And if you like what you see, like, so we're going to go for the legs, for example. I can go ahead and actually just hit Control S, screen grab that, switch back to my model. And now I can use that information to study and manipulate some of that anatomy. So it's really, really awesome. I don't want to thicken her up, but I do want to give her a little bit of muscle structure here in her legs. We're going to come in and bring in these muscle shapes. Also, there was more to the other comment. Oh, sorry. Let's see. Or is this just a duplicate form? Wait. Comment. Oh, sorry. Going back up. Chris. Hey, there it is. Okay. Random. Epic Game is free games store right on the top details. Are you thinking of ever like owning a digital arts company? Oh, am I personally thinking about ever owning a digital arts company? It's a great question. Sorry, I missed it. I saw the first part, and I try to keep things topic to ZBrush, but I see what you're asking now. I don't know. I mean, when I was in the middle of when I first started streaming, I didn't think of anything, but then when I was doing freelance, I did take out an LLC under Ian Robinson Arts. And that was to protect myself for when I was doing any type of freelance work. However, now that I'm working in a studio, I don't really need it, so it's fine to kind of on standby. But I don't know. I think I'm more interested in instructing than I am owning my own type of digital studio that would be for like games or even like a toy factory. I think honestly, I would want to actually help mentorship or be able to help teach, just because I love the experience of A, showing others how to do something, but B, being a part of somebody's art journey is so inspiring to see what other people can do, how other people learn. And for me, I struggled with learning how to learn. I struggled how to learn. I was really like not sure. I would watch YouTube videos and I would just get overwhelmed with things. But when I was able to join the 3D Character Workshop, so shout out to Shane, he was able to explain things in the simplest form that made the most sense. And then it was inspiring to me to want to help in that same manner. So at the end of the day, I think if I did anything, I would want to actually open up like a teaching studio. Yeah. So sorry I missed the other part of that question. Do I keep the nipples for the last, so YouTube doesn't block the already finished stream? Yeah, if I'm gonna do nipples, then yeah, I try to keep that stuff down to next to nothing. Great question, by the way, because yeah, YouTube, Twitch, they are heavy blockers of stuff. And even though it's art, I don't know. So yes, I do. If I'm gonna put them in, it's gonna be off stream. However, Carnage doesn't have nipples, so we're good there. A lot of art studios usually offer some sort of classes. Yeah, I do an LLC in case someone's with a menu. Right. Yeah, very nice sculpture. Did use Z-Sphere? No, I did not use Z-Sphere display. And no, I don't speak Spanish. However, if you do ask a question in another language, I have Google Translate up and I try to answer it as best I can by that. But sorry. Okay. I tried learning Spanish once and I failed miserably. Let's actually back that up a little bit. Hey, Hey, Comics Legend, how you doing? Hey, and good evening. Are you working freelance now? No, actually, I stopped doing freelance because I work at Funko now, and I'm really, really happy with my job. Thought I recognized the creature bot character on art page. Yeah, yeah, isn't it cool? Thanks. Well, thanks for being a great teacher. And when you ever decide to do it, either give an eye past your qualifications. Work right there. Hey, yeah. Well, thank you for being just an awesome person. No, I found that I have a love for showing what it is that can be done. So the more I help and more I practice teaching, the more I love it. So, and I feel like if I can give back to the community, then I'm going to do so because I love it. So thank you guys for being so awesome. From the art challenge in Shane's class, right? Yep, that is correct, Arkin. Yep. Okay, so here, I'm just following this anatomy line right here. So I'm bad at muscle names, so forgive me, because I'm going to be saying point A to point B. I'm trying to learn them, but I'm not comfortable spilling them out. But right here at the hip area, right near the hip flexor, so this region right here, there's an adductor muscle. So it's coming across this way, and your quadriceps are built up of primarily of like 4 or 5 major muscle forms. So, and with the skin and fat laid on top of it, you just get the idea shapes down if you're going for soft. So you just kind of follow that pattern across, and it helps lay up some pretty nice landmarks. So just makes it a little bit more believable. And then if you put too much, you just kind of scoop that back, move that down. Very cool. That is great. Thank you. Where do you get the anatomy models from? So, Wombat, great question. This anatomy model is actually within ZBrush. If you hit the comma key on your keyboard and you come on up to Tool, right here is Ryan Kingsley anatomy model. It looks like a skeleton, but when you click it, it actually generates, it's a female version. So the skeleton structure is set for a female character, but you'll get all the muscles. And between men and women, the muscles are pretty much the same across the board. The difference mainly between a man and a woman is the skeletal structure. The hips are placed a little bit differently. I believe the shoulders are a little bit broader. So it's just little things like that. But for the most part, you could just get that here. I don't know if they have a male. No, they don't have a male skeleton, so they just have a female skeleton in it. But yeah, but you can use that for all muscle reference, man or woman, it doesn't matter. Because again, the muscles are the same. The skeleton and the fat structures are a little different. Okay. I'm just going over it back and forth just to kind of make sure. Smoothing some areas. I want her to be kind of soft, but I'm going to be putting in those Carnage details here in a minute. But you can see I have some areas. She's lean, fit, and strong. So that's the idea of what we're going for today. Let's actually go ahead and carve in this area here. Get that pushed up a little. No problem. You really show your love for teaching. I think you are one of the streamers I watch most dedicated in explaining and answering questions. Thank you. Sorry for the English mistakes. Oh, you're totally fine. No, Vine. Thank you. Oh, dude, thank you so much for the kind words. Just love it. No, you guys are awesome. Okay, I'm gonna hit Control N to clear that out for a second. You know what, too? What's interesting is teaching helps me learn better, too. Like, I don't know if I've told you guys directly this before, but years ago I used to teach Taekwondo and Hapkido. And when I first started learning, my Kwanjinim, or Grandmaster, he was always like, this is what you need to do. You need to learn how to do a front kick and a punch and a side kick and et cetera, et cetera. And then you need to go teach, lower belts how to do that. So from like white belt on, once we got our yellow belt, he started having everybody teach. And it just helped the information stick when you're like spitting it back to somebody. So it was really cool. And I took that philosophy and tried to bring it to my sculpting. And thought, you know what? I think there's something to it. So if you guys are ever curious about like trying to retain some information, just find like your BFF or anybody willing to listen. Hit me up. I'm good. And I'll listen to you. And then you just talk about it. And it for me, it works. It's something that's really, really cool. That's why I love YouTube back when I want to learn something. Just a way to kind of like hear somebody else do it. And then you just spit it back. Oh, the name. Are they really? Oh my gosh. I didn't know that, Chris. Wait, what's that? Hold on. Harrio? I didn't know. I didn't know that. Thank you so much. Wow. Now I feel crazy. Did I get to your question about layers? I did not get to your question about layers. Please re-ask the question. I did not see it. Well, now I'm gonna have to try to get in there. Names of the muscle groups, that's so funny, dude. That's so funny. Oh, okay. Do you think masking and severely adjusting and using move brush at the hip after masking the entire top would in any way break the model or the geometry? You mean like trying to move it? Like masking off an area would only help you. Oh, so masking off would only help you more than anything else. So if you needed to adjust some parts, like I'm trying to adjust a lot of this here, if you try to, masking is amazing. So if I understand your question correctly, if you want to mask something and severely adjust it, my tip would be to give it subdivisions that you can drop extremely low, then mask off and soften that area, and then, then move it however you see fit. So yeah, if you need to make major changes, masking is only going to be your best friend. What is the startup material you're using called? I'm actually using the Orbs, was it Orbs Gloss? It's Orbs material gloss. Master Kingsland for the win, absolutely, yeah. Hey, we all get to learn something. I'm glad I know that now. Now I have no excuse. I can read the names. So I'm gonna have to like go through and start learning some of that stuff. Not giving any excuses. I'm just bad at retaining verbal knowledge. I'm like a learn by doing guy. Makes sense. Like masking and to repose. Yeah, mask away. Absolutely. Masking is absolutely the way to do it. Yeah. Do you ever use layers when you are detailing? I had a play about, but I'm not sure if it will be greatly impact the file size. So yes and no. Let me save real quick. I wanted to play a little bit with using layers but I haven't incorporated it fully into my workflow. Typically, I'll turn on layers when I'm trying to, where I'm not sure about something. So I'll end up going in there and actually throwing on a layer, and then I'll do something to break it. And then when I'm satisfied with it, then I just apply it. But I don't use layers often. But from my experience of using layers, it's a great tool. So definitely try it. Can you 3D print complex sculpts like multiple skeletons tied together? Is there anything I should watch out for, like making sure there are contact points to each bone? Love your teaching, thanks. Not a problem. Okay, so what I would recommend is, let me put this the right way. So yes and no. Okay, so yes, you can print for parts to fit together and get tied together. However, what you want to be careful of is any thin points when moving. So, for example, you want to print this skeleton. Let's turn this on. Let's put it here, because let's say you want to print this skeleton. There are parts about this that aren't going to work, like the clavicle muscle itself. Let's go ahead and just isolate this. Clavicle muscle itself is very, very thin in comparison to, let's say, the jawbone, right? And the teeth themselves, too, are very, very tiny. So you would actually want to go through and weld some things together. So unless you're printing at a massive scale, then you're basically going to want to merge and fill and make sure that the connecting points are thick enough to get put together, but not too thin that it's gonna not print. It's a very interesting question the way it's worded, but at the end of the day, just ensure that whatever you are going to try to print, especially if it has like a ball joint or a fitting piece, that the wall thickness is at least, I would say at least 0.2 to 0.4 millimeter thick, and that there's enough space for it to go together, since you do have a shrinking element depending on the material or type of printer that you're using. But something like printing the skeleton out the gate would be problematic, not impossible. There's just things like the two bones right here, which we don't have the names of them right now, but these two bones. Boop. These together, you see this connection point right here? You want to watch out for stuff like this. This right here is like barely touching, so you'd want to come in and kind of like maybe inflate those pieces together, come down the bottom, inflate these pieces together, and ensure, and then maybe Dynamesh it so that it sticks together. That's kind of a poor example, but hopefully you get the idea. How much quicker do you have to be at work versus in person projects? How is your approach different? Hey, Comics Legend, that's a great question, dude. Actually, I am pretty. I was happily surprised that my boss is very happy that I was very fast. So, I mean, I could probably benefit from slowing down a little bit, but honestly, like, you know, they were happy about it, so I was able to get projects done faster. So I was able to move at a comfortable speed, not stress myself out, and get stuff done. So honestly, like, I had the backwards problem. I didn't have to speed up; I had to slow down even just a little bit. But what I did was, it's more of like, you don't want to go too fast that you're turning in bad work. So to slow myself down a little bit, what I was doing was, usually with my own personal project, I sculpt a bunch and then I come back to it and I'm fine. What I was able to do was basically sculpt and then stand up and like take like a little bit of a 5-minute break, then come back and look at my work and critique it myself, and then make my changes and then turn it in. So I use my speed at sculpting to get me to the point where I can like take an eye break, so I'm not staring at it so intently. And then I was able to kind of work that into, you know, being able to stand up and walk away, come back, check it with fresh eyes, and that's been very beneficial. So yeah, so I honestly didn't have to change much. Awesome answer. Hope that helps the time. Perfect. Yeah. Seems like lots of people would like mentorships and tutorials. Absolutely. Well, guys, I mean, I used to stream a lot, but unfortunately I'm not able to stream as often at this time. So I love coming on here on Pixo, but one of my plans is to start making more YouTube videos, because I want a lot of the information and knowledge that got me to where I'm at, little shortcuts, little tricks that I've developed over time, to be showcased and known. So I eventually want to pick up mentorships and stuff. I just realized I just don't have a lot of time to do that. So I give it away here. What's the limit for bringing in matte cap alphas, VDM, and brush pack into ZBrush? I don't think there is much of a limit, Chris. Maybe your hard drive space. But what I do know is, while you can, like you can see here, I have some orb brushes, I use some of the SK brushes. I brought some of this in, but you don't want to overwhelm this too much. It will slow ZBrush down a little bit. That's where I use sometimes the XMD toolkit on the side. Or what I'll do is I'll just come up here and then hit load brush, and then I'll go find, like here, here's all my ZBrush purchase brushes, the ones I've helped support. Then I come in and say like, oh, here, eyelashes, boom, now I have my eyelash brush. So I would say don't preload this. The more information you put into the brushes or the alpha pack, the more time it takes for ZBrush to load up. Hey, what's up, TL101 Art? Too many things to sculpt. Don't have time. Gotta go fast. Gotta go fast, gotta go fast. Exactly. Okay. So what I want to do is, I think I want to start adding some of those goopy stuff, because I think I'm just going to be essentially just noodling this, and I don't want to do that. So I think we're going to start adding some of that slime again. Or the, I don't know what you call it, the symbiote that's on the surface. So let's go here, let's save. One more time. And then what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to hit solo mode. I'm going to hit Control-Shift-D, duplicate, because this is a pretty heavy file. I'm going to drop the subdivision down to like, so I have it at 4 million for the skin and the main version. I'm going to drop this down to about 300,000, so it's going to look a lot softer. That looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and hit delete lower, delete higher. I'm going to turn on transparency, turn everything else off. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to be scaling this down. So that way it'll be just underneath the skin surface, but it'll allow me to actually pull material to the surface. So what I'm going to do is, let's grab this section that we don't need here. We'll leave the hands. Let's go ahead and delete hidden and close holes. And you can find that under geometry, modify topology, delete hidden and close holes. I just created a shortcut because it's fast. Now we have this guy right here. Let's hit solo for a second. Perfect. And now I'm going to go ahead and actually Dynamesh. Do I want to Dynamesh this? Let me see something real quick. Nope. Nope, I don't want to Dynamesh it. I'm going to leave it at the subdivision level. Oh, here's a really cool trick I want to tell you guys about. If your model has subdivisions, like my model has subdivisions before, so your model has subdivisions like this, you guys didn't know, this has been a huge lifesaver. So let's say you have subdivisions and you delete lower, and then you shut it down and come back and you realize that you accidentally delete your subdivisions. You hit reconstruct subdivisions, it will actually reconstruct at the highest resolution, and it'll actually dial it back to as low as it can possibly rebuild. So you can actually start, you can kind of rebuild your subdivisions that way. So if you ever lose them, and you know the model has had subdivisions before, you can just reconstruct them. Doesn't always work, but if the model has been, if you know the model's been subdivided, that's a way you can do it. So you can drop it down to slower. So you don't always have to Z remesh and then project back. Let's see. Yeah, that's why I asked a lot of questions, because it's important. Exactly. Hello, hello. How you guys doing? Let's see. Now I have the Sonic theme song stuck in my head. Nice. Hi, I'm new to sculpting. I was wondering, do you think it's better to start with a T-pose or realistic pose in practicing, or a mix of both? Ooh, that's great. Short answer is just play around and see what you like. If you're new to sculpting and you're kind of like figuring it out, I always recommend people to just kind of play around and sculpt something, anything. Sculpt your favorite thing. For me, Slimer was one of my first. And I do recommend sculpting in T-pose and then posing it, because posing is a little bit of a different animal, and it'll give you a sense. But if you're doing statue work, you do want to get used to asymmetrical sculpting, and just because it's the best way to express the feel and dynamic characteristics of the character that you could possibly give it. And that's what I've done. I quickly took my base mesh, and then I melded it, and then I posed it. After I got the main muscle forms in and the main look, I posed it, because then you can really bring the life of the character out. So I recommend practicing T-pose first, get used to posing, and then if you want to sculpt something in pose, it's a lot easier to switch. So, how long have I been streaming? I've been streaming for Pixologic since February of this year, but I've been streaming on my own for a little over a year and a half. Okay, so let's go here real quick. What I'm going to do, we're actually going to scale this down. So we're going to drop this in the center real quick. I'm going to turn on transparency. I'm just going to kind of scale this down just a little bit. I want this on the underlying surface just a bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to switch color to black, turn off transparency. I have paint on this other one. I'm going to take the move brush, and I'm just going to kind of push it underneath the surface. So let's just kind of push that under a bit. Hey man, how's it going? Hey, MJ Sculpt, how you doing? Thank you for saying. Hello, blah blah. No, you're good. Let's see. Oh, nice reconstruct trick. Looks cool, by the way. Thank you so much. Yeah. Is that a DBZ character, Vegeta? That is Vegeta up at the top, yes. Absolutely. Yeah, he was, I did a sculpt of him for a commission, and it was amazing. And then I just kind of kept it up there. He's always looking at me, telling me I can be a better Saiyan. Okay, I'm gonna smooth down a little bit, because I don't care about the form or the structure. I'm going to be trying to add in some of these black details, that slime that is usually on Carnage, but just kind of want it underneath the mesh just a little bit. And I tried this once before, didn't love the results, but I liked what I was able to do, so this will work. Kind of push that in a little bit. Like rigging in T-pose, like rigging the T-pose, kind of, yeah. The new job is going great, MJ. Thanks. How can I get the stylized looking startup material that the one you're using? The one I'm using, I believe, is on... If you go to ArtStation and you look up Orbs Brush, they have their material. I think I paid a couple bucks for it. I think it was like $5. Something like that. But yeah, I love it. It's great. It comes with a glossy material and a matte material. Okay, there we go. So we're just kind of pushing this in. Okay, so for here, I'm not going to be doing any slime on her fingers. I'm actually going to cut those off there. Go ahead, delete hidden, close holes. Because again, it's not necessary. I might put some on her hand, but we'll see. So a lot of times too, when you want to try something like what we're going to be doing, it's good to have some underlying mesh. It's also just good for concepting. There we go. I'm actually going to turn this color off for a second. I'm going to come here. I'm going to fill this color with black. Grab the paintbrush, hit fill object, which if you come to color, fill object is right there. Then I'm going to go ahead and actually switch colors back and get a better look at where this is going to be. And kind of push that in a little bit more. Maybe smooth that down. May not do anything by the jaw or the chin, but I definitely feel like I'm going to be doing stuff with the head. So what I could do is actually go to solo. Nah, it should be fine. Okay, let's just do that. We'll just leave it like this for now. And let's see, I can actually just like use my clay buildup and actually subtract a little bit of this where it's not going to be. Move brush will only take you so far. There we go. Can we see the Slimer? I don't know where I'd have it. Yeah, you can see it. Let me see if I can find it. And you don't miss muscles that are supports to be. Wait, I missed something, Ryan. Still new, but when I first tried posing, it was a nightmare. No, posing is not fun. Posing, okay, let me phrase it. Posing can be fun, but posing can be difficult to learn. Definitely look at reference and try the pose yourself. That's the best way. Posing can be difficult because there's so much expression in the way the muscles are and how the body moves. It can be daunting if you don't understand it. So kind of research how the body's supposed to move. Give yourself examples by posing yourself. Try to put yourself in that position. And it will click a little faster than anything else. Oh, I typed in Eimer. Slimer? Let me see if I can find it, the Slimer sculpt. I don't know if I have it anymore. Is 32 too old to get into the industry? No, I'm 38. And I just broke into the toy industry this year. So you're good. I freelanced I did graphic design for the film industry, and then the pandemic happened, and then I freelanced, and then got into the toy industry. It's never too late, guys. Okay. Okay. Okay, let me see. There you go. Hey, I do have them. Here's my Slimer. Here you go. Yeah. There he is, yeah. I'm surprised I actually had him. I think the material I was using Skin Shade for. Yeah, I was using Skin Shade for him. So this is a couple years ago. Yeah, he's pretty fun. I like him. Okay, let's actually leave that skin shade on for a second. I've sculpted Slimer like 3 times now, I think. Venom is kind of the same thing for me. I've sculpted Venom a few times. I say Slimer, Vegeta, and Venom are like the characters I've sculpted the most. And that's another thing too. I would recommend, especially if you're new to sculpting in general, save your sculpts and have a character that you love working with so that you can do what I call the artist check-in, where you spend some time practicing, you're trying new things, and you know what the character should look like. You know when things are going wrong versus when things are going right. And then don't be afraid to go back and take a look at your work over time and try the character again and do a comparison of like what it is you've done and where you came from. And that's how I've been using those characters. It's been really helpful. So Slimer was definitely one of them because he's just a blob of slime. He's fun, you know. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Hey, Leo, how you doing? I've been trying to do engraving on a gun handle, but every time the details doesn't look flat or sharp or with sharp edges. I've been using clay tubes. Any recommendation? Yeah, you know what? Try using thick skin. It might sound a little... Ooh, I saved in the wrong spot. You know, I'll leave that there. Try using thick skin. I'll give you an example right now. You'd be surprised, but... Actually, you know what? Let's go to the Slimer one. Oop. Okay. So let's say I wanted to add some, like, some filigree here on this part. Like, I want this to come across. So let's actually just turn off everything but the trap for a second. So what I would recommend is turn on thick skin and then have lazy mouse on, you know, something like 17. Place your pen down, hold shift, and come across and let go shift, and it's going to draw a straight line. And then if you hit 1 on the keyboard a bunch of times, depending on the amount of detail that is within your model, like this is a pretty low model, so let's actually bump this up a little bit. Let's actually come up to, let's just make it like 1,000,000. There we go. Because that's the thing too, you're going to want some good detail. You want some good geometry on here. But come here, first set your thick skin. Let's say right about there. Go ahead and like draw your detail in one stroke, and then hit 1. And you can add these nice little panel lines. So you could come here, let go of shift, so same thing. Come here, and then hit 1 a bunch of times until it flattens itself out. And if you want a white detail, you go to 0, and you can literally paint that away. That'd be one way to do it. The other way you could possibly add some filigree or detail is to actually use frame mesh. So if you go up to stroke and you come down to curve functions, you have frame mesh, and you can frame mesh based on polygroups, crease edges, or border, or all 3. So let's actually do like a group by normals. That might take a minute because it's pretty large. There we go, something like that. And you could actually come up here to like frame mesh, so stroke, and then let's do polygroups. Hit frame mesh. Is that gonna do what I need it to do? Let's try it on a cleaner model. Let's go here. Give you a little bit more detail. Polymesh. Let's go ahead and group by normals. Turn polygroups on, hit frame mesh, and you can see here it's actually put a frame around here. Then if you grab your clay tubes and touch it, you can now get some pretty nice clean edges on that, which is perfect. And then from there, you can manipulate that based on the size or you can even use the new alpha brushes. So BC, where are we? Alpha curve. Come in here, grab this thing right there, touch that. And maybe that's not the best alpha to do it with, but here we go. Grab that circle one. And then you can even adjust the stroke. So if you come here to curve modifiers, curve fall off, and let's adjust. Let's say we want a fancy design. Now that kind of like thin to thick to thin, loop. So you can have that thin to thick to thin by just using frame mesh. So hopefully those are helpful. Very cool. Thanks for finding him. Heck yeah. I'm glad you guys liked him. I'm surprised I had him. Hello from Venezuela. Hello. Welcome in. Hey, Next Knox. How you doing, buddy? Hey, I was wondering how to make hair. Wait, how you can make hair movie in a video, or can you animate? Oh, I don't. I might actually. I've never animated in ZBrush. However, I'm curious. Let me see something. Okay, this is complete trial by fire, but I am intrigued by your question. So, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to try something first, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try something. Okay, what we're going to do here is I'm going to merge visible. And what merge visible does is it takes your model and it brings all your subtools together, and then it creates a new section. Now let's say I wanted to animate. So I'm going to try this. I've never done this before. I literally have no idea what I'm doing, but I have this thought. So let's come up to timeline. We're going to show timeline, because theoretically this should work, but I don't want to answer unless I know for sure. So let's do this. I'm going to animate this wrist. We're not going to go crazy. Animation takes a long time, and I am not an animator. But let's say I want to animate this wrist. Please forgive how gross this might look. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this here, like this. Now, here's what you could do, real quick, before we even use timelines. What you could do is use layers, go ahead and hit record, and then I'm going to go ahead and actually move this wrist down like this. Okay. I'm going to stop that. I'm going to set this to 0. There it is. So with using layers, now this is a dense file, okay? But I can animate this wrist at 0 to 1, and we can call this a wrist movement. Wrist move. So now if I want that wrist to move, right? I could come up here to my timeline. So let's go back to movie timeline show. I'm going to go ahead and frame this in the center. I'm going to click here. Then I'm going to go ahead and move that wrist and hit the second spot. Maybe? Maybe not. Actually, hold on. Let's pen this. Let's go to timeline tracks. Layer. Okay, so just as far as recording goes, I may have to dive a little deeper in that question. I would look up stuff for timeline tracks, and there might be somebody here who knows it a little bit better than I do. But I know for a fact, if you just come here to the layers and you mask something off and use layers, you can actually get movements. This is what a lot of people would probably identify with blend shapes. I'm not an expert in it, but I would start here. So, and then if you go past 0 into negative, the wrist will move the other way. But just be careful of warping and deformation. So I would work with very low subdivisions, and if you need to, project details on there, or have subdivisions on everything so you can move it, and it could be a cleaner animation. But as far as animating directly in ZBrush, that's out of my depth of knowledge. But I would start there, and then maybe start looking a little bit more into what your timeline tracks would be. So hopefully that's helpful in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, I would start there. Let's see here. Not too bad. Just sitting in an In-N-Out drive-through. Ooh, In-N-Out, man. Nice. Yeah. Let's see here. Helpful as always. Okay, great. Let's see. 2 in the box, ready to go. We fast, they be slow. I want to watch Ghostbusters now. Nice. You guys are getting ahead of yourself with these hair questions. Oh my gosh, yeah. And I have a question about ZBrush. I need help to do something that seems simple. Not sure where you're going with that question. The experimentation, that's right, dude. I think one day I'll buy ZBrush. Heck yeah, do it, Nate. Do it. You're trying to get into the industry, ZBrush is definitely the standard for it. So highly recommend. But yeah. Trevor's on it with good answers, dude. Hello, how you doing? Oh, that sounds good. Yeah. You can use Z-Sphere to make a simple rig too. Yes, I am not an expert on rigging, so I know you can rig Z-Sphere, so yeah, I agree. Absolutely. It has an extra where you start with a sphere and you sculpt into the room. Oh, nice. No symmetry as well, but if you do this again, you'll gain control of your brushes. Yeah, absolutely. Practice, guys. Lots of practice. Okay. So you know all that work we did with posing this aspect underneath the skin? Okay, well, here we go. So I have my reference of how Carnage's grossness kind of looks all over, and we're going to replicate this. So you can see here I do have some of these floating around, but I'm actually going to turn these off. I don't want them to influence my decisions. Which, believe it or not, can happen, but... And what we're going to do now is I'm actually going to take just the standard brush, and I'm going to utilize some of the muscle forms. So what I'm going to do is... And actually here, transparency would be your best friend. I'm going to come through and start painting some of this on. And this way we can get some of this detail going on here. So again, transparency. Might be a little bit too thin to the surface. There we go. I may have to build up a little bit of that material first to get it kind of started. There we go. Let's see if this is what I wanted to do. You can also take the snake hook and turn on Sculptress. You can get a clay kind of started a little bit. Maybe push up a little bit of this. Holding Alt will actually allow me to control a lot of what's going on here. Oops. Set up, come here. Actually turn off RGB and fill color. Yep. And if we turn on Sculptress here as well, it should work out pretty well. Turn that off. I missed a lot. Let's see. You. Okay. Nope. Answered that. Perfect. Perfect. Do you recommend the book Anatomy for Sculptors? Oh my gosh, Leo. Yes. Yes, absolutely. I also recommend following their Instagram because they give a lot of information out. They give a ton of information out. So, yes, I do. Highly recommend. Okay. I'm going to subdivide this a few times. So let's see. Let's dynamesh it, actually. Oh, yeah. The anatomy book for sculptors is your best friend. Any book you can get on anatomy reference is going to be your best friend. Actually, I have a book here. Highly recommended, whether you are into working out or you are a sculptor, but The Ultimate Guide to Strength Training, because when you open this up, and I don't know, let's see if I have a full, let's see, I do not have a full screen, but I don't know if you guys can see it, but when you open it up, you have different poses of the exercises, but they also showcase and target where the exercise is going to be targeting, but then it also shows you the pose with anatomy reference right in there. So you can kind of get a sense on how that muscle should move when you're pulling your arm back, or when you're kicking your leg forward, or moving your arms to the side. All the basic poses of the exercise will then kind of help you figure it out. So if you know that your pectoral muscle is attached to your humerus bone, when you open up your arm, you know that that pectoral muscle is actually inverted and that it flips over. It's like U-shaped and it flips up. So to raise your arm is because your pec muscle is naturally flipped at your armpit level. So then when you raise your arm, you'll know how that stretches. So little things like that. The book is called Ultimate Guide to Strength Training. I found it at Costco for $14, and I bought it, A, because I'm trying to get back into working out, but B, because I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much information here that's not even funny. And then yeah, I bought the PDF version of the Anatomy for Sculptors. So yeah, highly recommend. Yeah, when we are using the gizmo, we can click on the home icon to move the gizmo to the world center axis, right? But how do you do it using the transpose line? Move the transpose line to the center axis. I don't know, Yuri. I have no idea whatsoever. I don't use the transpose that often. I'll hit Y on the keyboard, and I don't think there is a recenter because it's just tied to you drawing or typing. But if you wanted to send it back to world center, I'm not. I honestly don't know. I don't know. Sorry, I don't have the answer to that one. Yeah, it's because array mesh works with the transpose line. The array mesh also works with the gizmo as well. So you don't have to use the transpose line. They have a transpose, like if I were to turn on array mesh and use the transpose option. So if we come here for a second, let's back this up. Don't know why perspective is turned on. But you, for example, repeat to, let's just do rotate. What do we want here? Let's repeat 10 just for fun. Let's look at this cool shape here. That's transpose the locking position. Let's see. Pretty sure you can use it with the gizmo. How to reset it, I don't know. Let's just come here for a second. Smooth align pattern position. Offset. So we have rotate, which is fine. Let's do offset. Let's come here real quick. It's using the original. Let's go to rotate. Hit Y for a second. Sorry, you had me playing. 1 second. Okay, yeah. Pretty... Okay, yeah, so if you click the transpose, it'll give you the repeat stage, but you could just use the gizmo too, if you wanted to. But with the transpose here, when I touch it, it's set to the orientation of your model. So as I try to draw out, it's always snapping to the center of your original piece. So I don't think you really need to worry about sending it back to home. But if you turn off transpose, then you can adjust it. So what I would say is when you're using array mesh, make sure you hit the transpose, and that will set it to the original part of your model that you're duplicating. And then you can use those options there. You could use the symmetry to position the transpose to the center where the two dots meet. Yeah, you could use symmetry for that as well. But yeah, I would say that might be. Hey, do I do anatomy critiques? No, I don't do anatomy critiques. Just because I'm not 100% comfortable in doing that at this time. I want to be better versed with my anatomy language before I start critiquing. So, shout out to Vicer. He's amazing at that. It's going to be a statue, a 3D printed statue. So hopefully that made a little bit of sense. Yeah, not a problem. Okay, got it. I was having problems to make things around the cylinder. Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah. So, and to point to Vine, if you had symmetry turned on, and you kind of tap, and you can come to the center of your model and kind of tap in there, that could be a way to do it. But honestly, it's when you turn on transpose, it snaps to whatever model you're working on. So that should work. Do I work with Pixo to get new features? No, not at this time. I do have a resin 3D printer. I actually have the Epax X1, which is a great printer. I have one of the first versions of it. It's a great model. It's a great printer. It's just a little small, unfortunately. You definitely, like, you know, get a bigger one. Okay, so this isn't doing what I wanted it to do, which is fine. That happens sometimes, guys. And if it does, don't be upset by it. Like, you try something new and it doesn't always work. No big deal, right? So let's just go ahead and I'm going to delete this one. And what we're going to do is we're actually just going to play with an alpha brush. So let's get... Let's do the alpha curve. Let's play with that a little bit. Let's take stroke. Let's move that over here. I don't like what's happening here, so I'm going to hit reset. And then I will hit flip. And maybe bring this up a little bit. And then what I want to do, go to curve modifiers, curve, block start, block end. And then I'm going to use the picker. Do I want the picker? Yeah, no. Let's go to brush. And let's go to... No, I do want to go to picker. And I actually want to do continuous Z. Maybe? Yeah. And then I want to go to depth, and I want to drop the depth a little bit. I want to bring that down. Turn bend step on. Do fall off. That actually might work out. Repel strength. 0. There we go. Perfect. And then I want to go back to curve modifiers, and I do want to have a little bit of an arc in there. There we go. That's better. Let's go ahead and... So what I did real quick was I adjusted the modifiers of the curve for a shape that I wanted. I also adjusted the curve itself, having a lock start and lock end. So that way, when I draw something, I can really mess with that how I want it. And then on top of it, I drop the repel down, because if you have the repel set, it kind of springs off a little bit. If you drop that repel strength, it sticks to the model a lot better. But in order to get it to stick to the model specifically, I have this picker, and usually it's set to closest Z, so it'll spring off the model. If you type it to continuous Z, it's going to remember where you pour that stroke, and it's going to snap to that. And then I dropped the depth a little bit so that it sticks to the model just a teeny bit. Now what I can do is I can draw where I want those shapes to be and then create my own stuff. Yeah, it always snaps to the model. The gizmo and the transpose are tied together. If you send the gizmo home and switch to the transpose, it will follow and match orientation. How do you get a character head on the side there of the top screen? Great question. So that is called your cam view. And what you can do is make your own cam view, which I have done. I can send you a link to a video that I put together specifically for this question. So let me just go to my YouTube channel real quick. So if you would like to jump over to my YouTube channel, I'm slowly starting to grow this channel. But if you come over here and then go to ZBrush Help, and then you scroll down, create a custom cam view ZBrush, click this, and this will tell you exactly how to do it. It's real quick. Go ahead and check that out. Are you going to cut this model during this live? Not during this live, but I do plan on cutting this model up during one of the streams. So yes, absolutely. Okay. You still want to critique an anime? If you send a pic over, you can take a look and draw if you want. Oh, draw some, Trevor. I'm going to go ahead and kind of tweak that a little bit. So what I'll do is I'm going to place some of these down where I want them to go. Sometimes less is more. So I'm just going to be taking a look at the shapes and seeing how this is going to come together. I'm going to blend some of these in too, and I might adjust them before finalizing them. Like I might actually sculpt on it a little bit. Like here, I may want this to be a part of this and then come down in here. So we'll go ahead and we'll place that something like there. And the trick when doing stuff like this is try not to overthink it so much. Just getting shapes, we're trying stuff out, see if we like it. Turn off some of those features if they're not working for us. We can continue a shape too. So I want that to kind of come in here a little bit. And we're just going to go ahead and apply a bunch of this stuff here. So you work in the toy industry. Do you mean like creating action figures? So I work for Funko. It's the main company I work with right now. And yeah, so I sculpt statue figures, collectibles. So usually what we do is we get a concept that is approved by the licensor, and then the concept gets sculpted and then sent back to the licensor for approval. And then once everybody's happy with it, then it gets manufactured. That's it in the short. Yes. Yeah, I work with Funko. Yep. Oh, you have more than 500 pops? Dude, that's awesome. That's so awesome. What's your favorite pop out of your 500? Pop quiz. That's awesome. Stanley for sure. Oh yeah. Yeah, has to. Okay. We're gonna come here real quick. Kind of attach that there. Yeah. The material tab. Let's see. Did I miss a question? Well, after importing material, how can you save it material after closing ZBrush? So go to your material. After you load it, there's a thing called Save as Startup Material. Click that, and then that will save on your next startup. You can even save your UI. Go to Preferences, go to Config, and make sure you store your config. But you definitely want to go to Material and Save as Startup. Yep. Want to create a sculpture for Vladimir Putin who holds the planet Earth in his hands. Have fun, dude. That's going to be a crazy sculpt. Hello, Pixo. I recently bought a Funko Pop Monster Stitch for girlfriend. She liked it. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, Jim. Yeah. Yeah. Boop. All right. Okay. You can see here I'm kind of just manipulating this as I need it. This is all still like not 100% the way we want it. Dynamesh best for 3D printing, or should models be ZRemeshed? So, great question. The workflow I use to get things 3D printed ultimately gets Dynameshed, because ZRemesher, while it's great, will definitely miss holes inside the model, and you want your model to be watertight. So what I highly recommend doing is when you're done sculpting your model and you like it and it's the final is done, when you go to Dynamesh, so go to Geometry and Dynamesh, take your blur. So I'm going to hold Shift, bring this up a little bit. So go to blur and turn that down to 0. And when you Dynamesh it, usually it'll tell you the resolution that your model's currently at. Usually, not always. But when you Dynamesh it with blur off, it won't soften your materials that much or the details. But duplicate it, Dynamesh it, then project it. What you could do too, depending on the look of your model, I've tried this a few times as well, is you go to Modify Topology, Weld Points, and then Close Holes. But at the end of the day, Dynamesh will take everything on the inside of the model and delete it and fill it so that it's solid. Dynamesh is, in my opinion, is better for that. But if you have a really clean ZRemesh model that you know has no holes in the middle, that could help, but it's not always recommended. So Weld Points, Close Holes, Dynamesh it, you should be good to go. How many sculpts do I do a week? Oh man, it varies. It varies week to week. Depends on, for my job, it depends. For personal stuff, I've been working on this for 2 weeks, give or take. So yeah, it just all depends. I would use decimate as well once I want to get the overall count of the model down below 250,000, 500,000. Yes, Gustavo, that's a great. Yep. You know what I actually may want to try doing? I may want to try coming to curve alphas, which is multiple alpha brushes. I'm going to try something real quick. Yeah, I may want to try that. And let's go ahead and go to continuous, and let's adjust the curve modifiers just a little bit. Like that. So curve alphas allows you to have multiple curves. I also need to take the repel off. Functions. I'll drop that down. There we go. There we go. Yeah, let's do that. So the difference between curve alpha and curve alphas is it'll allow you to have multiple alphas that you can change at will. So I can come here, that up a little bit. There we go. Maybe drop that down a little bit. There we go. I can come here. There we go. So something like that. Continue that. Yeah, that's a lot better. Actually have that come from up there. There we go. Okay. Let's see if I end up liking that stuff. So I can touch that right there. Up. Continuous. Yeah. Grab that one. Connect it right there. Looking for that green dot. Down a little bit. There we go. Actually up it a little bit. Maybe too much. There we go. Remember, guys, it's not about how many sculpts you're doing. It's quality. Take your time. Try doing an arm, a leg. Just looking at your shapes. Absolutely. Yeah, it is all about making sure that you practice enough times to get comfortable. It's always about practice. At the end of the day, you're always going to practice. And there's nothing but the best experience there. So, and try new things too. I experiment all the time. It's definitely, in my opinion, the best way to get better is to try something that's out of your comfort zone. Okay. Ooh. Go. Back that up a little bit. Probably I'm really liking what I got going here. I've actually never really worked like this before. I am digging it. It's nice. Gonna have to fix it, so we're just getting shapes down at the moment. There we go. That zoom a bit more. Go. Very nice. I'll lock it. Time consuming indeed. But you know what? All the best things are time. Take your time. I prefer personally really making sure that, like, at the end of the day, I do all my details by hand. I could find faster ways to do some things. But also too, just like a really good handmade sculpture in ZBrush, sometimes the best approach is the one you know. And for me, I know that I can get it done the way I want it to look by hand. Oop, there we go. And this is actually kind of a fun way to do it. Now what we're going to do, before I do too much too quickly, what we're going to do is actually go ahead and I'm going to isolate. Rid of those. Going to come here. I'm going to split hidden. Become the split hidden. I'm going to rename these because I had finger blades. Now this is what we'll call body slime. Slime. There we go. It's like that. Now I can go ahead and subdivide this up a little bit if I wanted to. I can then take the inflate brush. Start playing a little bit with this. See if I can get the results that I want to do. Clean them up, maybe weld them together. Yep. So yes, but if there are deadlines, quantity counts. Best to do both. Yeah, that's a... I would say always focus on quality over quantity any day of the week. Yeah, it's true. If you take a job that has a deadline, you want to meet that deadline. At the end of the day, though, if you put your best foot forward, speed is going to happen over time. This is why they also tell you don't try to rush to get into the industry, because you do want to be fast, but you also want to be good, and you want to be able to give the results consistently every time. So if you're trying to push too hard too fast, and you're focusing on the speed of things, that is going to cripple your learning experience. So as somebody if you're somebody who's trying to learn to get good, then focus on having the quality shine through first. Quantity is just muscle memory that is repeated a bunch of times, that eventually you can do that thing over and over and over again without any type of fear or any type of hindrance. You'll be able to reproduce that result every time. So being able to focus on the quality of things, you will get faster naturally the more you do it. This is where the term practice comes in. And I know people hate that term. I've seen it where, like I've said, best thing to do is just practice. Try making an arm, fail at making an arm. Try making a torso, fail at that. At the end of the day, that's all going to lead to you getting faster and faster. Try new techniques, see what works for you, throw away what doesn't work for you, be willing to try something new. All that is going to result in a good quality that will generate good speed later. So I've been doing this for 5 years. I've gotten really fast because of how often I practice the same things, and that's going to help you out. So focus on quality is ultimately what I'm saying. The speed will come over time, but when you know something, knock that out. Like, that's when you can focus on the speed aspect of it. But don't be afraid to rush the learning process. I consider myself a student for life. I'm always going to be learning. I'm going to try new things. Some things you're going to see me do, they're not going to work. It's going to suck. And I'm going to be like, all right, that's not working the way I wanted it to. Other things are going to work. And I'm like, oh my God, that's beautiful. I love it. It's just all about ebb and flow and knowing that no one here is perfect. I'm just kidding. No one here is perfect. So try to achieve your best work always. Don't try to rush that. That's going to come later. Does that make sense? Hopefully that's good. Yeah, never rush my students, especially when they're learning. Absolutely. Working 6 days a week? Woo-wee. Oh, yeah. Yep. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, it's not good to rush learning. Absolutely. You can strive for... What was the best thing? Okay. This was said to me a long time ago, and it stuck with me. I hate the phrase practice makes perfect because I don't think I'll ever be perfect, but practice makes permanence. So the more you practice, the more that knowledge will become permanently embedded in you. And then you can rely on that knowledge whenever you need it. So I like to say practice makes permanent, not practice makes perfect. Craft, you're awesome. Don't let anybody tell you different. Hi, nice sculpture. I have a doubt about ZBrush since I'm a noob at it. When do you know to use Dynamesh or ZRemesher? Great question. You can fall on this simple ideal of Dynamesh can be used for sketching, get the forms of your characters working out really well. I'll showcase. So make Polymesh 3D. So let's say I want to make a body, right? So Dynamesh can be used for sketching. This is how I use it. There's more than one way to skin a cat, but you can come in here to Dynamesh and we'll go ahead and we'll just make like a simple torso real quick, right? So I'm going to take the move brush. I'm going to turn on symmetry. So what I'm going to do is just kind of smooth this around a little bit. Let's actually lower that even lower. Yeah, let's do that. So come in here. Blah, blah, blah. So let's get the shape of a rib cage real quick. Just simple character. So this is what I would use Dynamesh for. I come in here and I start getting the shapes of the things that I like. So, okay, that's fine. And then this is what I like about Dynamesh is I can go ahead and take my mask pen and I can extrude a neck out real quick. Something like this. Dynamesh it. Now I have that resolution that I'm working on. Same thing down with the body. Come here. Get that S-curve shape going. Dynamesh it. So this is what I'd use Dynamesh for. You're sitting here and you're just kind of sculpting. Turn on symmetry. There we go. So you go ahead and you could start like just quickly getting the character shapes in there as fast as possible. Right? So, you know, you're just kind of trying to get stuff in here, or you're building your character. So you're like, hey, okay, great. I got arms now. And let's say we're happy with this, right? Let's say I'm happy with this shape. I got my spinal cord going on here. I got my torso area, rib cage. Now I want to start adding detail. You can go up in resolution if you wanted to. Nothing wrong with that. And then you can start going in. But once you want to start like detailing the, let's say here, we got his pec real quick. Clavicle, right? So we have something. Let's actually, there you can see it. We have the lats right there. Whoop. And lazy mouse. There we go. So let's say we got all this. Quickly just throwing something together. We have a male torso, right? There we go. Now I want to start detailing this. So let's say I'm happy. This is where you would move into ZRemesher. I got the base form down and I'm ready to start adding detail. Dynamesh can take you so far and it can rebuild itself quickly. But then what I would do is Control-Shift-D duplicate. Turn on solo for a second. This is where you can go ahead and start going to ZRemesher. So you go to Geometry, ZRemesher, then you go ahead and you would ZRemesh. And this is the workflow I use on a day-to-day basis. So now I have my topology, but now I can subdivide by hitting Control-D. And what subdividing will do is it will multiply by 4 your resolution, getting you to high numbers quickly. But subdivisions hold on to details very, very quickly. So now I can actually start really sculpting in the details of the character, getting in the pectoral muscles, smoothing that down, you know, coming across, getting the deltoids sculpt it in. So that's when I would say, so that's the difference. Now, you can take Dynamesh as far as you want. You can even do, you know, major detail forms within Dynamesh. But at the end of the day, you're going to want to Z-remesh it, because Z-remesher is going to hold on to the details a lot better and a lot cleaner in the long run. And if you want stylized characters, Z-remesher on lower subdivision levels, because of how it works. So, for example, let's zoom in here real quick. I'm gonna Shift D. So details are held between the vertices, the points, and the closer these points are to each other, the more detail it can receive. Hopefully that makes sense and I haven't lost you. So with these details coming in, it gets tighter and tighter, and you can see all these little vertices next to each other. That's going to hold that detail a lot better because it has more points of contact. So you'll be able to get finer details at higher subdivision levels. And you can achieve that, again, in Dynamesh, but it's just harder to do that. That's where Sculptress Pro comes in. I use Sculptress Pro a lot over a Dynameshed model. I'll turn off Dynamesh and I'll just kind of Sculptress Pro. But Z-Remesher, for my workflow, is all about keeping the model as clean as possible and putting in a lot of detail. So when to take that comes a little bit with time, but I would say start with Dynamesh, get it built out, get it blocked out to where you're kind of happy with all the shapes and forms, then move into Z-Remesher to start giving those tertiary details and making it look more how you want. From there, you could play with other features, but hopefully that wasn't overly confusing or too much too quickly. So, but that's what I would say. Let's see here. How would you suggest to someone that is yet familiar with ZBrush Maya to approach human anatomy? Okay, human anatomy, look at Ecrochet models. If you have access to a 3D printer, print yourself an Ecrochet model. There's really good options out there. I just hit my mic. You can also go into tools, go to Spotlight Tools, and then hit the Ryan Kingsling model. But study how anatomy is, the muscles, where they connect. Anatomy for Sculptors is a great book. Definitely check a lot of that out. Let's see here. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, this is where we are. Perfect. But also, when you're starting, don't try to be perfect. It's frustrating sometimes. Just good to move on to the new one. Absolutely. In which instance would you use Sculptress? So, Sculptress, I would use it on something that is not quite yet ready for subdivisions, or you have subdivisions on there, but you are looking to rebuild and you want to pack some detail in there, or you're working with a model that you just don't care about the subdivision level. You just want to throw details on a specific spot. Sculptress is cool because of the way it works. It rebuilds on the fly. So if we were to take this, like this is subdivided. It rebuilds on the fly, but you can't use it with subdivisions. If you try, I'm going to turn it on. You get this error up at the top. Let's see if I can do it again. Go back. Get this error at the top that says it can't compute. So if you wanted to just, if you're happy with your current density of the model, go ahead and you don't care about subdivisions. You're like kind of like, whatever, I like it at 4 million. I'm going to keep it here. Then you can go ahead and delete that, use Sculptress, and just work on that one spot. I like using Sculptress more when I would say I'm working with an STL file. Like, let's say I want to remesh something that I downloaded on, you know, Thingiverse or something. I would bring that in, and then because of how it works, we come here. Because of the way that it works, I have this dense mesh here. I can turn this on, and now I can focus on sculpting just that one spot. That still gives you decent details without worrying about subdivision. Lots of different ways to implement it. There's really no wrong way. whatever works well for you that gets the job done. If you're in games, your ZBrush topology isn't really going to be good. You're going to be manually retopoing that. So whatever gets you to the final product, which is the easiest and best for you, if you know you're going to retopo it, don't worry about it. Just use Sculptress and then knock yourself out. So it just all depends. Lots of different ways. I'm still getting used to using Sculptress. I use it when... Okay, I'll tell you how I use it. Check this out. Okay. I use it, let's say I have 2 different subtools. You guys are going to like this. This is how I use it. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and grab this, delete this right here. I'm going to quickly go ahead and delete hidden, and I'm going to close that. Okay, let's say I have 2 different subtools, and I want to give him legs. Boop, there we go. We got legs for him. And let's just go ahead and push that in. Okay. So let's say I want to merge these 2 together, and they're both... It doesn't really matter. Okay. Let's say I want to merge these 2 together. So I go ahead and I say merge down. But I'm getting ready to... Actually, I'm either getting ready to ZRemesh or I've already ZRemeshed it. But let's say I want to merge these 2 together. So I merge down, right? And I have these together, but they're 2 different... They're 2 different, like, densities. One is, this is a lot lighter than this one. And I want to merge them, but I don't want to use Dynamesh because I want to ZRemesh it. So I go ahead and I hit Keep Groups, ZRemesh. Try to ZRemesh it at the same time. Make sure that it's nice. Keeping groups will keep things separate. Let's see how fast we break this. And what I'll use is I'll use Sculptress to remesh by union with. I think you guys will like this. Oh, it's been... Why did that happen? Why did that work? Right when I want to show you guys something. There we go. Okay, let's try that again. ZRemesh, keep the groups. Come on, show me the money. Do I paint my own stuff? Sometimes, not always. Would I use Curve Alpha for hair? Yeah, actually, Curve Alpha is perfect for hair. Of course. Of course. Let's see real quick. Let's go ahead and split this real fast. You know what? Forget it. Watch this. Okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to duplicate this one just to make it a little easier, so we can get to the nitty-gritty of it. Okay, let's say I want to merge these 2 together. I'm going to merge down, right? And I'm going to hit auto groups so they're different in nature. So what I'll use Sculptress for is actually bringing these 2 together. So what I'll do is I will turn off, if you have symmetry turned on, I turn it off. I bring up the gizmo and I send it to the subtool home position by holding Alt and tapping that little icon, that little location icon. I'll open up the cog and I'll go to remesh by union. Now, remesh by union will take the topology of each one and it will try to stitch it together as much as possible. But you can see here that the stitching, while this is fairly even, it can be a little wonky. So what I'll do is I'll hit Q, and I'll get like a clay buildup brush, and then I'll turn on clay buildup. No, let's just do the standard brush. There we go, because clay buildup doesn't use Sculptress. I'm going to turn on Sculptress, turn symmetry back on. What I'll do is I'll actually paint over the remesh by union stitching because it rebuilds that topology on the fly. So I'll do something like that. And you can see it's kind of adding a bunch of geometry in there. Once you do that, you come back. So once you do that, it automatically accepts. We back it up for a second. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, so you see there's an orange cog there. It hasn't accepted yet. Once you start doing Sculptress Pro, that cog turns gray again because it automatically accepts that Sculptress Pro is being accepted. So now we don't have that anymore. So if we try to open that back up, we can't. So then once I use Sculptress to paint all that back together and kind of rebuild that geometry around where Remesh by Union worked, I'll then go to Geometry Z-Remesher, and I'll Z-Remesh and keep groups. And what that will do is help Z-Remesh these two together a little bit better than what was there once before, making these two now connected. And typically, let's find out for sure, but typically watertight. If you go to Transform and hit Analyze, usually it will make it watertight. So that's how I've been using Sculptress, just to kind of get things that have been subdivided together without dynameshing it and risking losing topology. I will actually turn around and remesh by union, and then I'll Sculptress paint those seams together. Then I'll rebuild with Z-Remesher, then project history, and we're good to go. Hopefully that wasn't too crazy. Let's see here. This was the most helpful stream I've seen on Pixel. Oh, nice. Thank you so much. You got to go. Thank you so much, Craft. Love to having you here. I've been looking all over to make ripples. Any help? Yeah, ripples. A real quick, fast way of doing it is just use the standard brush and use subdivisions. And then what you could do is you can turn on. Let's just do this real quick. Subdivide it up a little bit. Go ahead, go to Transform, Symmetry. Let's do Rotational Symmetry or Radius Symmetry on the Y-axis. And then what you can do is kind of just, you can get a little bit of a ripple effect. Of course, you'll want to break this up asymmetrically, but you could definitely get some ripples this way. I would reference a lot just to make sure that you get it. But if you wanted kind of like some ripples, that's one way you could do it. I use the standard brush anytime I do ripples. And same goes, like you don't have to use radial symmetry. You don't even have to use X symmetry. But I would just use this the standard brush. Keep circular motions, know where the point of contact is, and it usually fans out. So even if you wanted to kind of like wave it a little bit, just know that ripples usually generate a motion of a spot that was erupted in the water or liquid, and then it's energy being flown out. So you'll have not only surface, but you'll have dips as well. So just use the standard brush, kind of play around a little bit. And also break up your ripples. So you can do something like that a little bit. Just keep that circular motion around wherever that point of contact was, and you should be pretty good to go. And maybe Sculptress Pro. Okay. So I'm going to try something while I take a few more questions here in a second. Okay. Here, I'm actually going to utilize Dynamesh. I'm going to turn groups off. I'm actually going to Dynamesh at like 500. And let's see what we get. No, don't freeze it. There we go. Let's see if that gives us what we want. 500 is a little low. Let's try 1,000. Turn groups off. Blur off. No. Boom. There we go. That's a little bit better. Now we can play around with these shapes a little bit more. Hi, what would you use to work faster? The Cintiq tablet or News Pro tablet? You had faster work or work fast for deadlines? I actually just graduated to the Cintiq 22-inch. I like the Cintiq. It works for me, but I've seen people work equally as fast on a Intuos Pro. So really, the tablet, The tablet doesn't make the sculptor. Sculptor makes the tablet. So whatever is comfortable for you. I work better on a Cintiq, but at the end of the day, it's really up to you. Cintiqs have been known, for those who are comfortable on it, to improve workflow over time. I don't know how true that is. It's allowed me to have a bigger screen space so I can have more of a UI. So I get to my UI faster, but I wouldn't honestly think it would make that much more of a difference. I think the sculptor gets comfortable on whatever they're working on. So it's really up to you. I bought a Cintiq when I landed my current job because I wanted to reward myself. Do you have to set wall thickness in ZBrush for the final print? It really helps, Adam. It really does help. At the end of the day, I always recommend that you set scale in ZBrush, and then from there, check your wall thicknesses, because you don't want to be doing that. You don't want to be doing that once you got to the slicer part, but it's really simple to do. Because once you set scale, you could just come here, hit the transpose tool. So hit W for the gizmo, and then Y for the transpose tool, if you're not on it already. So W, Y. And then what you can do is you can solo, and you can measure across, and it'll tell you, oh, this is one unit. But if you set scale to millimeters or inches or whatever you're comfortable using, it will then tell you in the top left corner that it is 1 point whatever millimeter. So highly recommend, yes, check your wall thickness. It's only going to help you out. And the average printer can print 0.2 millimeter to 0.4 millimeter wall thickness. For resin printing, I try to keep the shell about 2 millimeter. It's just preference. So just keep that in mind. I've been sculpting for 5 years, Lee. Let's see. Sometimes I get holes in my mesh with a single vertex that won't move. What is happening, and how can I fix this? Ooh. I would have to see an example, but if I get my meshes breaking too much, let's see if I can replicate your problem. A lot of times if you get your meshes breaking too much, you have an error in your mesh somewhere that is causing conflict. So if you're trying to Dynamesh at high resolution, maybe drop it down a little bit, or you don't have enough resolution. It's kind of a who's guess. Sometimes you get holes. What you could try to do is go to Geometry, Modify Topology, close holes, then try to re-Dynamesh. That might be helpful. You might have a lot of intersecting parts that's just not registering, so maybe try to go through and clean up the inside of your model, which you can do that by going to Display Properties, going to Flip, and if you turn Solo on, you can get an idea of what's happening on the inner structure of your model, and you can see here all my points are connecting the way I want them to. So if you have intersections on the inside, that can give you a better idea of what's happening. But to answer your question better, I'd probably have to see a problem. I've had it happen a few times, and it's always a troubleshooting thing. It's never like do this and you're fixed. You kind of have to like troubleshoot a bit. Hey, Kamara. Hello, hello. Buy ZBrush. People should own ZBrush. Is there any way to set a whole thickness at once? There is a way to do it, but I don't have the answer for you right here. I haven't done it in so long. I know there's a video. If you go to YouTube and type in Ask ZBrush Shell, I think if you go under Geometry, Create Shell. Yeah, right here. Dynamesh Create Shell. I would do Ask ZBrush and go to Dynamesh Create Shell, and I know Joseph Just does a great video on that. It happens when moving from Z-Sphere to Polymesh a lot. Ooh, okay. Then if you're using Z-Sphere and you're getting a lot of corruptions, when you use Z-Sphere, hold on 1 second. All right. Okay. So if I were to, yeah, let's just switch that up. Let's come here real quick. If you use Z-Sphere, let's go ahead and, ooh, whoops. Put that out, hit T. Great, wonderful. Okay. So if you're using Z-Sphere, right? And then let's hit W to move that. And then let's go ahead, tap there. Let's hit Q to draw. W, okay. If you get this a lot, this is a collision problem. And even if you hit A, you're going to see that it's going to do its best to register that. When you hit A again, if you get this weird silhouette, you're getting a nasty collision problem, which could result in your problem. So what I would recommend is when you're using Z-spheres, avoid this at all costs. This right here will give you so many problems. So I know it could be difficult when you're like building a hand. For example, you know, you're trying to like blow this up and W to move it, Q. And then let's say, you know, holding shift to snap if you needed it to, you're drawing this out. I know when you start getting into stuff like this and you hit W and you're trying to get that very close, and then you get something like that, but you're like, oh, I can still draw on that. See, now I have a problem here. Try to avoid that as much as possible. I know it can be very difficult, but just remember that the Z-sphere that you're using is more of a guideline, not the final product. So try to keep it as clean as possible. But like I said, if you start getting stuff like this, then that collision, even though if I hit A and it's going to show, see, that's colliding actually nasty. So little things that may want to try to avoiding if possible. There we go. We got a little hand guy. Boop. Go. That. Now we got a hand. Like that guy who's just gonna come down, grab you. Anyway, oh my man. Thank you so much. Not a problem. Yeah. Hopefully that's all. Yeah. How do you retopo something like those lines? How do I retopo these lines? I would actually, if it doesn't break the silhouette, big retopo rule. If it doesn't break the silhouette, retopo over it. I would actually, if I were to retopo her, I would actually have these lines on there, and I would just retopo her, and I wouldn't worry about how these lines would go. If it doesn't break the silhouette, then it's nothing. You don't need to retopo it. Retopo things that break silhouette. That should help you out. Whee! Okay. Okay. Yep. Not a problem. Hello, hello. Hey, AVI. I actually can't click that link for whatever reason, so not quite sure. Oh, wait, hold on. Never mind. There it goes. Bamboo garden. Okay, you're trying to do this. Actually, that's really cool. Okay, so to do something like that, you could probably do that quite a few ways. Gonna just subdivide again. Gonna just Dynamesh it for now, just to be simple. There we go. If you want to do perfect circles like that for your bamboo garden, I would recommend doing a morph target, store your morph target, and then from there, rely on alphas a little bit. You actually have some really cool alphas like this alpha ring, but we can actually come in here to the standard brush, do this alpha ring 9, and do drag rec. And, you know, be a little bit more precise than what I'm currently doing, but that's what I would do. I'd actually increase the... There you go. And you can even use symmetry to find your center point. If you wanted to. Come here, just drag that out. Yeah, just something like that. Yeah, so I'd use alpha 9 with a drag rec, and that will get you something like that. And then if you use a morph target, then you can do multiple things over that. Something like this, right? And then you could take your morph target brush, so B, M, and then morph target, morph target. I keep changing these things on me. Oh my gosh, morph. There it is. G. So either morph target, then you can paint away some of those things if they are intersecting. Just get in there. This is obviously your kind of down and dirty version, but yeah, something like that. Obviously, you want to take your time, make it look good, but that's what I would do. Thank you. Okay, let's... Before I get yelled at by ZBrush by having all these things open, let's delete a lot of these. If you have too much stuff open, like yours truly, go ahead, select on the thing that you want, hit delete all. So let's hit delete all. It'll delete all the subtools as soon as you select out of it. Because if you have a lot open by ZBrush, it uses a lot of memory. Got ZBrush thinking 100 miles an hour, and that's known to crash a couple things once in a while. Yeah, okay, wonderful. Anyway, so hopefully that was helpful. Yeah, no problem. Okay. Oh. There we go. Let's actually up that intensity a little bit. There we go. Now these points that actually have like a little bit of... Gonna kind of take these tips a little bit. Now here's what's really cool. If I hold the snake hook brush, so BSSH for snake hook, and make sure RGB's off. If I hold Alt, I can then manipulate some of these lines against the surface of the body. Stretch some of these out to do really cool stuff. I can kind of come in here, scale that up a little bit, rebuild it, maybe shrink this one down a little bit, scale this one up, move that down. Snake hook brush, hold Alt, come in here, maybe actually drag a little bit of information out. I'll actually take the inflate, kind of bubble this up a bit. Something like that. Maybe call that out just a little bit like such. Rebuild it. There we go. Inflate. Just like such. There we go. And then let's look at it from afar. Yeah, not too bad. Bro, do you have days where nothing seems to look good when sculpting? Oh my gosh, yes. Dude, I can tell you from experience, that feeling in the last 5 years has not gone away. My biggest tip for anybody who feels like your sculpt is a complete piece of whatever name you want to insert there. Just know that the beginning stages of everything look like utter garbage, and not everything you're going to do is going to look good out the gate. The best thing to do is to have fresh eyes on it. So when you start really feeling overwhelmed with it, walk away for a second. It may not be working for you, so you need to walk away. The other thing I would recommend is that, maybe have somebody else take a look at it. Sometimes we get stuck and we're just not quite sure what can be done. We're just lost and overwhelmed at our own project. That just means you're too close to your project. And sometimes just having somebody come in, a friend of yours or a fellow artist, and just say, hey, I'm trying this thing, but I just can't seem to nail it. You'd be surprised. Sometimes, to be honest, I've done it too, and I'm sure if Ryan's still hanging out here, he can attest to this. If you get, because I'll throw stuff in my Discord, and I'll be like, I think this thing sucks, and then people will come in and either say, no, it's fine, or they'll be like, yeah, you know what, maybe try this, that, and the other. It happens. I show things to people all the time that I'm just like, I'm not sure if this is working, and getting that second opinion sometimes is very helpful. But yeah. I as an artist, it happens. So I wouldn't worry about it. I would just say try to find a way to not beat yourself up so much and then go from there. At the end of the day, if you're enjoying the process but you're hitting a frustrating wall, just walk away for a second. It can't hurt, But yeah. And it happens at work, too. I've had it really happen at work, and I'm like, this is sucky. I don't like it. And then you send your stuff for critiques, and then the corrections are nowhere near as bad as you think they were going to be. And then you're like, oh, hey, they like that. Great, wonderful. Okay, I keep going. Yeah, it happens. Yeah, you, Ryan. So don't worry about it. Yeah, it happens. I'm going to post on Discord a problem I have. I don't think I can print the Master Sword file on your FDM printer. That, or it's a problem with Cura. The Master Sword file is definitely pretty small. Maybe try scaling it up a little bit. Print a bigger version. You're right, though. I was making it more for the resin printer, so maybe blow it up or really love your supports. Usually you take a day off when you're feeling that way. Taking a break is always a way to refresh yourself. Absolutely. I'm a noob, but how do you switch out the head of the... how do I... You mean the cam view? This beautiful guy? All you do is go to Preferences, go to Cam View, and if you've loaded up a pre-texture, that's where you would change it. But if you would want to make this more permanent, then what you need to do is actually take the model that you love. And I did make a YouTube video on it. I think I still have it saved. Yes. You could check out the YouTube there, but really quick, short, sweet, and to the point. Basically, take the model that you love and go ahead and merge visible. So let's say I really like this one. Send it to the center of your screen. Go up to Document and make the background like super black, like that. And then what you're going to do is send your gizmo to World's Home or to center. Send everything to World Home like that. There we go. And then from there, what you're going to do is you're going to go to Preferences, Cam View, Make Cam View. Now you see my cam view is my Venom. I can make those, I can make her larger or smaller, however I want. It's up to you. And then what you'll notice is under texture, you now have an alpha. You would save this, export this out. You would go to your local drive. Same with on Mac, you'd go to Utilities, open up your program files, go to Pixologic, go to Z Startup, Cam View, and you drop it in here. You save it, and then go to preferences and store config. And if you don't like it, you can always go back to cam view and say next, and you can switch it back to whatever one you would like it to be on, which is that guy right there, and then store config. Bloop, and you'll be good to go. How do you network? Wait, how do you network in... What do you mean, how do you network in this? You mean, how do you network in this industry? Honestly, you can network pretty simple. Just reach out, talk to companies, talk to fellow artists, you know. Reach out, say hi. Twitter's a good place. And then from there, yeah, just you know, reach out to companies if you're looking to get into some place that you're interested, but maybe they're not hiring. Send them an email with your portfolio, you know, and then ask for portfolio critiques. Don't be afraid to get rejected a few hundred times, because it happens, believe you me. But yeah. And don't be afraid to go after the companies that you really want to work for. You know, there are lots of companies out there. If you want to work for, like, if you want to work for Funko, you send them their stuff. If they're hiring, they'll let you know. Even if they're not hiring, sometimes just sending your stuff out can be helpful. You know, a lot of times a company may not be hiring at that moment, but they're like, hey, you know what? We got a guy who hit us up. We liked his portfolio, so we're gonna go ahead and reach out. And I've had a lot of people do callbacks where they're like, hey, I got your portfolio like 2 months ago. Are you available for work? And then you say yes or no. Oh, you subbed to my channel? Thanks, dude. Looking forward to seeing more work from you, Nate. Now I have to head out. Have a good one. Nate's, have a good one, dude. Thank you so much. Yeah, I definitely will be doing more YouTube stuff very, very soon. If you were to print a model like this, about 9 inches tall approximately, what would your goal topology count be? Topology, when it comes to 3D printing, the final model, try to keep it under 500,000 if possible. Just a lot of slicers can't handle that detail. But so that's where decimation comes in. Z plugin and then decimation master, and knock it down as far as you can without breaking the model. But aside from goal topology, yeah, just keep it under 500,000 if possible per subtool, which is actually pretty easy to obtain once you're ready for printing. Okay, I'm actually pretty happy with how this is coming. If we want to look at it as a solid model, I have some color there, but I want to repaint. So what we can do is actually switch it over and look at the silhouettes, which the silhouette's looking pretty nice. So yeah, this is actually a really cool method. A little bit of exploration today, which again, like I said before, don't be afraid to try to explore. Can't hurt. It may not always work, but can't hurt. What we're going to do is actually go to curve alphas again with our current settings. And yeah, let's actually add a little bit more detail and stuff to this. Come in here. Ooh, what happened? I want to zoom in a little bit. There we go. Have that one stretch out a little bit. Ooh, that was maybe a little bit too far. Can always move that later. One come up here. Yeah, this is actually pretty cool. I'm liking this method a lot. I wasn't sure if I was going to, but I think it's working out. gonna go ahead and kind of, that doesn't matter, does it? Yeah, I think that's working out pretty well. Come here. I kind of want it to be wrapping around her body. Yeah, we can always play a little bit more with that stuff. Sometimes I get stuck in ZBrush and have no ZBrush friends. It's scary, and I'm a traditional sculptor. Dude, I feel you. You know what? So, I'm going to share my Discord link with you guys. So, kind of all over the place when it comes to work. I'm busy and stuff, but there's tons of artists within my Discord. We're just basically just like a bunch of artists who get together and hang out. So if you guys would like to come hang out and ask ZBrush questions, I may not always be the one who can answer the question just due to my schedule, but there are tons of people in there that love to help out, and everybody, we're just a really chill community where you can come hang out, ask questions, share your stuff. No pressure whatsoever to do or showcase, but you know, if you want a place to come hang out and feel like you can share your stuff and get some questions answered, feel free to jump in there. There's always somebody who's willing to answer, so hopefully that helps. This one's going to be an interesting. I think I want a little bit of. I'm going to probably weld a lot of this together. Nope. We come up this way a little bit. Do some sculpting aspects in there. Let's go right there. That should be fine. There we go. Take this guy, zoom in a little bit. There we go. Gotta ask yourself if you like that or not. Yeah, I think I can work with that. I'm actually gonna take a basic sphere, kind of bring that up in this. Just gonna put that right in here. We're gonna dynamish this spot right here. A little bit like such. Oop. There we go. Then maybe I can actually use a little bit of inflate. Inflate some of these spots. Make them a little bit bigger, and we can tweak with it a bit more. Such. Come through. Now what we could do as well is come over to and hit this dot right there. Not rebuilding everything all the time. Just only what we need to rebuild. Heck yeah. Yep. Super fun place to be. Just join. Awesome. Thanks for joining, Lee. Can you recommend a minimum spec machine to run ZBrush effectively? What's your rig? Are you using a tablet? Can I effectively run ZBrush on your Mac 2020 16-inch MVP? Okay, so 1 second. All right, so if you ever want to know what your system requirements are, definitely go to Pixologic and compare to this right here. I'll gladly tell you my specs, but basic system requirements, you definitely want to have at least 16 gigs of RAM. Do note that ZBrush is CPU driven, so they're recommending an i5 or higher, or AMD equivalent. I have the AMD Ryzen 7 5600 chip, which is a really great chip. Yeah, you definitely want 100 gigs of RAM. Pen tablet, I recommend anything your machine can handle. If you're running a laptop, you may not be able to run a Cintiq. That's dependent on what you have on your laptop. Macs are pretty rigid, but basic machines. So unless you're doing your own type of upgrades, I don't know if it can handle a Cintiq, something to look onto on your system side. But as long as you're running at least 16 gigs of RAM, I know it says 8. It can be done. You just might run into lag issues. But ideally, it's the CPU that really you're trying to figure out. So CPU and RAM, those are the two big ones. I have 48 gigs of RAM because I built my own PC running Windows 10, Ryzen 7 5600 chip with 8 cores. The graphics card doesn't matter. Whatever your machine can handle, the video card, as long as it's a video card, it's fine. But the machine itself doesn't utilize any graphic card technology, so there's no need to stress on video cards. You can have a 1060. I have a 2080. It doesn't matter. So big things: RAM, CPU, and hard disk space. Your machine can run MS Paint? Ooh, man. What do you got, a IBM 486? Yeah, get 30 to 64 gigs of RAM and good graphics cards. So that's it. But isn't it my main ZBrush machine? But oh, hold on. Yeah, you're running ZBrush on a 7-year-old laptop, but it isn't your main ZBrush machine. So yeah, I mean, you know. Ooh, you got the 5950 with 128 gigs of RAM. Jealous. MS Paint for the win. Absolutely. So yeah, that's my recommendation. Hopefully that helps you. But definitely check out those specs and try to compare your machine to that. But I will say that when I was in the office before working from home started and I was running ZBrush, I had an iMac 2013 with 16 gigs of RAM, and ZBrush ran fine until about 8 million polys. After 8 million polys, the machine screamed at me and said no bueno, which is no good. So yeah, but you should be fine. Mind you that your 7-year-old laptop is an i7 with 8 gigs of RAM. Your main is a 5900X with 32 gigs of RAM. Okay, then you should be fine. You just may not be able to take it up past, 8 or 12 million polys. But you should be okay on that. There we go. Oh, happy accident. I like that one. Okay, I'm gonna mask off these back ones. Ooh, calm down there, buddy. Gonna mask off this area right here. Why are you doing that to me, Smalls? Oh, it's because I have mesh project on. Whoopsies. Must have accidentally hit that. So let's go ahead and grab this. I'm going to blow this up a little bit. Go. Try that one more time. Now I'm going to grab pull that in there. Like it's kind of originating from that spot a little bit. There we go. Have I tried to use the splatter brush they added in 2021.6? Yes, and I freaking love it. I love it. And I might be doing some details with that more towards the end of this project. But yeah, in fact, actually I used it the most on my Mortal Kombat figure when I did Sub-Zero just before the movie release. Had a little bit of a fan art moment and had to create something, and it was perfect for blood spatter and all that good jazz. So Yes, I love it. Highly recommended. Really, if you're doing like scab wounds or you're doing brains, anything that needs a little bit of like that inconsistency, but still cool texture, it's definitely the way to go. How can you manipulate the object stuck to the surface of another? If I understand your question correctly, if you have one surface that's stuck to another, let's say you have something like this stuck to each other, but they're separate objects, try going to polygroups, hit auto groups, then you can isolate certain spots. See how everything's not kind of stuck together. Things that aren't actually welded together, that are auto grouped, you can select different polygroups and then you can remove that. That, if I'm understanding that right, that's what I would recommend. Yeah, what's awesome. Thanks, dude. Appreciate it. Oh my gosh, it's almost 8 o'clock. Dang, it's almost 8 o'clock. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the stream. Freaking awesome. I'm glad it's almost 8. Like, yeah, so cool. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying yourself. Also, awesome questions today. So thank you to everyone who has produced a question, and even those who are helping. No, I know some of you are answering questions. I appreciate that too. Let's hold Alt for a second. Let's actually get this spread out a little bit more, like that. There we go. Oop. Yeah, not a problem. Right there. Awesome. Heck yeah. Yeah, that link that right there that Rethyon Studios just shared. Thank you, by the way. I'd go all the way to the bottom. And so if you go to my link and just scroll all the way to the bottom, Discord right there. All right. Okay, cool. I'm actually digging this. Let's actually go here real quick. Let's turn on all the color. I'm gonna switch, and let's go to color. I have a shortcut for it. Let's go black. There we go. Sometimes you need to see it in a little bit of color. Now that's too black. That's the thing. If you're ever gonna paint something black in ZBrush, don't use true 000 black. You want a little bit of color in there. And that's because a lot of that information will lose shadow information if it's true black. So always have it like a little bit of a gray tone, more towards like the cooler side, unless you want it to be warm. So I would recommend more towards like a bluish purple instead of like a warm color, unless of course you need it to be, but shadows are typically cooler by nature, so go with like a purplish blue. And then what that will do is allow you to accept shadows a little bit better on top of the mesh. So it's not true black, but it's close enough. That's clever, Carde. That's clever. I'm not singing! You guys don't want me to sing. I'm no Bo Burnham or anything. Alright. Here we go. So I'm taking my time with this piece a lot because I want this to be a good portfolio piece as well. And I'm going to kind of, want to make sure that I'm going to cover this next topic with a little bit of kit gloves. But there's nothing wrong with fan art being a portfolio piece if it is distributing every technique you know how to use and it's your best work. Don't just throw fan art pieces up for the sake of throwing them up there. Fan art pieces can be used for your portfolio piece if you're just demonstrating, especially if you're going into the collectibles industry. If you're going into the collectibles industry, then you're basically a fan art artist anyway. So if that's one of your goals, it's okay to use that as long as you display everything you need to be displaying correctly. So, but I need to hear you singing about Instagram. Right? Or welcome to the internet. Yeah. Maybe one day, Kamara. Maybe one day. Okay, let's actually go back to our curves alphas because that's been doing us really well. I'm confident about a lot of things. My voice, not one of them. Can I interest you in everything all of the time? A little bit of everything all of the time. Yeah, right now, right? Oh, I love it. You guys want to see a really fun comedy special? Inside was good. It was wonderful, actually. Hey, look at that. That connected beautifully. Bloop. Bloop. Look at that. All right. I'm going to go ahead and well that. Breakout concert right here on Pixo. Let's do it. The sock puppet part was great. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The first time watching it, I was like, at the end of it, I was like, man, I really hope he's okay as a person. But, oh, it was so fantastic. Just beautiful. I think and he has the album posted on Spotify, so I've been like working to his album. Okay. All right. And I want to smooth a little bit stronger, so I'm going to go to brush up in the spotlight, smooth, and then I'm going to go smooth stronger. If you guys have never explored up in the spotlight, you're missing out on life. So, in the ZBrush world, there's so much up here, but there are so many brushes beyond this normal brush palette right up here. You guys have to explore up here. It's amazing. And there's some really cool gems up here that just are wonderful. Like Slash, you come up here. Slash 3 is one of my favorite brushes, but Slash 2, or even the original Slash, oh my goodness, it's just fantastical. Just looking at the blade reminded about an anime called Dead Man Wonderland that has one of the characters makes blades from blood. Ooh, you're gonna have to. Okay, you're gonna have to remind me about that. I was thinking of that game prototype. Oh, nice. That's what I loved about this character. I still gotta see. There's so much to do. I think I'm going to be working on this piece for a little bit on this channel, so you guys are going to see it evolve. I will be working on this a little bit on my own, on my off time as well, but I definitely will showcase everything I do with this piece here until we're done with it. Although I do have another idea for a sculpture that I definitely think I need to start very soon. I'm going to delete that. Let's delete hidden, close holes. Dynamesh it. Come back and do that right there. Inflate. There we go. Okay. Go. I'm gonna go ahead and hit the snake hook brush. And I'm gonna inflate, then thick. Okay, we'll definitely play a little bit more with this backside. But I think this is coming along a lot better than the last time I attempted it. So for the person that asked if I ever look at something and think it's total garbage, kind of witnessing it, I'm like, is this working? Because it's okay if it's not, but you know what I mean? Like, sometimes I try to, when I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed with a piece or not sure if it's doing exactly what I want it to do, sometimes I'll just figure out what I like about it, and I'll then just go ahead and play with that a little bit longer, and then ultimately, if it's not working, then I'll try something else. But I never fully abandon. What I'll do is, if I don't like this, I'll hide it and move on to something else and try that. Ooh, I forgot about that piece. Ooh. See, look at that. I'm gonna push that bad boy in. Oh, yeah. Oh, here we go. Oh, look at that magic happen. I forgot to hit these pieces. Because you never know when something's going to work. Do that. Little bit of everything, all of the time. Okay. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Okay. Yeah, let's turn that piece back on. Uh-huh. Let's turn that piece back on. That's back here like such. Actually, let's play with the placement of this guy right here. Now, you might be wondering, is that going to print, dude? And you're absolutely correct to think that. And the answer is not easily. So I'm going to kind of play around with maybe where I place this. And I'm probably going to go large with this piece. So, but I do like these pieces here. So these might be keyed out where you can like print them separately, then key them into the model, which I have a good example of actually. Is my goal always to make printable figures? What do you have to change about the approach when you want to, when you want something to be print ready? Actually, great question. So I would say, let me turn on the rest of these real quick. For me personally, most of the stuff I do want to print it, but I also will make some things just for render or just for fun. I don't always print everything, but I do keep printing in mind because that's what I enjoy about my art, is that I want to hold the physical piece. And the things that I definitely think about the most when I'm going to approach something to be printed is kind of like, as I was talking to myself for here with these pieces, is how thick something's going to be. And is it going to look good? Just because we're adhering to such rigorous standards of it can't be too thin or it's not going to print right. It can't be too thick or it's going to look weird. Not everything works the way we want it to, so we have to be adaptable. And so with that, most of my approaches comes down to, is it too much? Is it too thick? Does it work? Does it not? And I kind of try to take a look at it as a viewership, as somebody as a viewer who's gonna admire the art and kind of wonder, is it necessary to have that piece? So yeah. You put a link to share your link section on Discord about blood blades. Oh, perfect. Awesome. You're awesome. Hopefully that makes sense. I know that was a difficult question. Let me actually. I have a good example. So I printed, and this will be the last thing I answer today before we get going. Let me save this real quick. The best example, I'm a show and tell type person. So let's go to my storage. I'm going to type in spawn. Okay. There we go. Okay, here we go. Let's see, is this the right piece? Here we go. Okay. So, all right. This was something that really made me struggle a bit. So, here's my spawn bust I did sometime last year. Anyway, and the thing is I wanted these chains to be printable, and I did it. So with this spawn in particular, the thing that really got me like really was frustrating was whether or not the chains themselves would print functionally. So if I were to go ahead and show you the, where is it? Print. Bust version 2, spawn printable. All right, there we go. Okay. So here's what I did with the spawn bust. So I ended up welding these chains together. Now, these chains don't move at all, but the thing I had to keep in mind the most is all the connection points within each part. So if we look at this chain, you can see that there's little gaps and stuff in between that still allow it to be a chain and give you that appearance, but I had to make sure that each link in the chain was big enough to weld together so that I could get a printable version. And I think with this, I'm going to go ahead and go to set scene scale, so scale master. Yeah, there we go. So each link I made about 1.3 millimeters thick. And I made sure that they merged together. And then when I brought them back together, I gave each piece its own kind of cutout section that it attached to, and then I blended the details of that cube into that cape so that we have something that is actual functional. So that piece would obviously be separate. You could print that on its own, and then you can attach it. So a lot of times when you're creating, or you're trying to attempt to create a dynamic flow in your piece, try to think about how that piece will be printed, and a lot of that comes with experience and time. But if you could chop it up into multiple pieces, it'll just make your job a lot easier. Now, this couldn't be manufactured in the toy world, as in like vinyl. I would have to actually come through and seal up all of these holes. Ooh, this song's awesome. I'd have to seal up these holes, and to do that, I would just take a small, thin piece of, like a flat plane, expand it up, and then stick it on each one. So. Not to get weird, but would you ever do Rule 34 art? It's lucrative. Not gonna say yes, and I'm not gonna say no. But I understand. I would say if anybody is interested, I would say this, and I'm going to keep it as PG as possible. If you're interested in doing stuff that maybe would not be considered family friendly, just know that your name gets attached to everything. And if you want to, and if you want to put yourself out there and you're not bothered by it, you know, you do you. I've never had any commissions or requests or I've never had anything or anyone come to me and say, hey, I would like to, quote, do this. But I would just say, just remember your name is who you are as an artist. So if there are things that you don't want associated with said name, keep that in mind. But don't worry. Can you get normal jobs once you dip into that side of content creation? Again, it just comes down to, what do you want to tie your name to? It's really up to you. I can't answer that question. If I was the one hiring people, I wouldn't personally care. I'm looking for the best artist. So if I was going to hire somebody, I want the best artist. I want it to match. I want that person to be a good fit for the team overall. So if it wouldn't matter to me if it was my call, but I can't answer that question because I just can't. Like, there's no way of answering that question. Do you have your own printers in a room dedicated for a large printer? I have mine in the garage. Actually, I do have an FDM right here because I only print PLA, and PLA is safe for printing within the house. I still have it in a big area, and it's well ventilated because you never know, but I love the smell of waffles, and that's what it smells like, which is good. You find FDM easy to work with. Never done resin. What take on resin? Yes, masks, gloves, ventilation, heavy ventilation, eye protection. Make sure that you have a nice clean spot because it's going to get messy. So have, a table surface that you don't care about. You have a rinse tank. You have a isopropyl alcohol tank or a mean green machine with ultra UV, which is what I have. I have a ultrasonic machine. You have your UV cure tank. So yeah, it's a lot. Am I using a pen tab for sculpting? I'm using a Cintiq 22. I actually just upgraded. I was using an XP pen for a long time, and then I upgraded because I used one once and I loved it. So it's all good. Thanks for the input. No problem. All right, guys. Well, it is 8 o'clock, and hopefully you guys fully enjoyed the stream as much as possible. I know I did. Hopefully you found it informative. Thank you all for the amazing questions. So I didn't get as far into the sculpts, but I answered a ton of questions, and I think that was great. I love questions that require show and tell, so hopefully you guys do too. Yeah, so with that being said, if you're made it this far and you haven't subscribed or followed any of Pixologic stuff, please do so. That way you know when I go live or anybody else. I go live every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, or Pacific Standard Time, 5 o'clock LA time. And if you're watching this afterwards, you made it this far and you liked hanging out with me, not live, come over and hang out live. And also too, if you're watching this after and you have comments, please feel free to comment those down below. Somebody at Pixo will get to you if you ask a question. I tend to come back to these videos and peek in the comment section too from time to time. Not because I'm narcissistic in any way, but partly because I'm partly. But anyway, just always to see if there's a question. But also too, yeah. If you have questions, feel free to type them afterwards, and somebody will get back to you. Anyway, that is it for the day, guys. Thank you so much. I will continue this piece next week because I guarantee I won't be finished with it at all this week. And hopefully you guys like this piece. This piece will be 3D printed, and I will be going through the process of how to chop her up and get her print ready as close to industry standard as possible, or even just for collectible cutting. So if you're interested in how to cut for collectibles for 3D, because 3D print process is pretty same. We could talk about overhangs and such like that too, but we'll go over a lot of that. So feel free to bring your questions every Sunday. That's where I'm going to be. What's your favorite statue collectible or action figure out now? Yours is the DKR Batman. That's really, really great. Actually, one of the collectibles that I want to get my hands on, and I haven't done it yet, is the Deadpool Venom. I It's by Sideshow. I think Mike Thomas actually was the original artist who did that sculpt. I think so. Pretty certain he did that piece. Don't quote me on it. But that's one that I want to get my hands on at some point. Anyway, alright guys. Thank you guys so much. I enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys did too. And I will catch you later. Join me in the Discord. I will drop the link one more time. Just in case, please pop in. Hang out with me. All that good stuff. Oh my god. Alright guys. Let's see. Where is it? Where's that link? There it is. Copy and paste. Please create a leather bag in your YouTube channel because I don't know how to create and I don't see tutorials on this. Leather bag on my YouTube channel. I will note that idea down. It might take a little bit of time, but pop into the Discord. You might get some help there too. Alright guys. Anyway, that is it, and I'll talk to you guys later. See you next week. Bye, 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 bye.